What's going on, bro?
Good evening and welcome to the Positional Sports Talk Show Post, live streaming from our Positional Sports Talk Show YouTube channel, Facebook, and Instagram. We're a sports talk show made for the fans, from the perspective of fans, presented by lifelong sports fans. We will provide our opinions and positions on the hottest topics in sports. My name is Big Reg. I'm joined this evening by my partners in crime, J3. What's up, J3?
What's up?
Yeah, J3 got his new headset on, and you can hear him loud and clear tonight. Next in the building is my man Ed. What's going on, Ed?
Man, I'm coming off a nice 3-day weekend. I didn't go anywhere, but I burnt a tank of gas, and I was just happy to be out. I was just happy to be outside getting some fresh air.
I hear you, partner. I hear you, partner.
Good to be here tonight.
Great. We got Johnny in the building. What's going on, Johnny? How you feeling?
Feeling pretty good. I can't complain. Happy to be here. Eager to talk about what we have to talk about today. So let's get it started.
All right.
In the building is Professor J. What's going on, Professor J?
Hey, y'all know, praise the Lord. We bringing that love, joy, and peace. Let's get it started.
I hear you. And our special guest this evening, straight from the Upper Marlboro, we got our family in the house. We got J Minnie back in the building after months being away in college. What's going on, J Minnie?
Hey,
Right.
it's good to be back.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
And we got Big Papa in the building. What's going on, G Money?
Good evening. What's up, fellas? How y'all doing?
Cool. Before we get started, I'd just like to apologize real quick to everyone. I had a little technical difficulties at the end of last week's show. Y'all saw that I kind of dropped out, but we got those hopefully hammered out, so we won't expect those to happen again. So I appreciate y'all, and for all the fellas filling in and making sure the show closed correctly, I appreciate you.
We got
This
you.
evening, we will discuss sports leagues talking about opening back up. They're putting their plans in full force, so we're going to definitely get into that. Follow that with the Rooney Rule and the adjustments and revisions made to that, and I think that's going to be a deep conversation. And we got Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, so we definitely got the right people in the house. We got my man G Money, proud diehard Cowboy fan, so he can talk to that. And we also got J Minnie and G Money in the house to talk about NCAA opening and how they feel about that. So let's get this show kicked off and make it happen. We appreciate you joining us. I see a lot of folks chiming in. I appreciate y'all checking us out. So this is Post on the Positional Sports Talk Show YouTube channel. All right, fellas and ladies. We didn't think it was going to happen, but as of today, you've got NBA basketball deep in the discussions to reopen the league and finish the season. Major League Baseball trying to figure out a way to finish their season if they can figure out the money, because it seems like them and the Players Union, we're getting it at. NFL seems like they're oblivious to everything. We just keep on churning and do what we do, no matter what. The NHL just announced this afternoon that they're going to return in July. They're going to scrap the remaining amount of the season. Instead of a 16-team playoff tournament, they're going to have a 24-team playoff tournament, and they're going to do it in 2 host cities and try to make that thing happen for the NHL. And then most importantly, NCAA football. How much pressure are these student athletes going to be put under to come back and play football? And how do you feel about that? So in general, how do y'all feel about them, pushing to get these sports back on track and get everything opened up? Just in general, no sport specifically.
Well, my first thing is this. What numbers are they actually looking at? Are they looking at numbers that have been progressing throughout the whole time, or are they just looking at right now? Because to me, it just seems like they're just looking at numbers right now. And from what I understand is they were trying to determine that each state would have a decline before they would actually open things back up. But it seems like now, because the weather is turning nice, they just want to go ahead and open it up to everybody.
I think it's a good thing. Joe, you just mentioned numbers. A number of the major states and metropolises
I
are
think the athletes listen.
recording lower numbers. So if we just touching surface right now, I'm just going to say I think it's a good thing.
My take is that I haven't heard one epidemiologist or other medical professional or any health official. I haven't heard anyone say that the coast is clear and it's not going to be without issues related to the public health as well as and also the players' health. As far as I'm concerned, and we're not being specific just yet, I would say no. Um, right now, I would say no. As far as the team sports, the individual sports, I may have a different feeling on. But right now, I would say they're rushing.
Jay
It's hard
Mini.
for me to say they're rushing if I have to go to work every day. I don't want to put more pressure on them than there is on me. Quite often we look at it as a sport. Yes, they're playing basketball, football, hockey, and whatnot. And we tend to look at it in a juvenile, jovial state. But the reality is, all these individuals that are playing are professionals and they're playing to provide for their family. You never know what type of situations they may be dealing with at home. So if there's an opportunity that men and women can make money, like a lot of us out here are doing, I know I go to work, why stop them?
That is a very interesting take on that, Johnny. That's a very interesting take on it. Jay Mini, G Money, y'all got anything on that?
I think it's too soon. I think it's too soon because it seems like things are still not taken as seriously as they should have been.
Hmm.
Like there was that one basketball player that came into the press conference and was touching all the mics and he ended up testing positive.
Mhm.
And I just think that even if they do take the necessary precautions and they don't have fans in the stands and they limit access to the players, I still just I don't think that anybody will take it as serious.
Good
I
point.
happen to agree with Johnny. I think that because, I mean, if you can get tested and you show that you don't have any symptoms or signs, why not go to work?
Why
You got
not
to
go to
work
work?
every day.
But right, I hear y'all. I hear y'all. Just in my big view, there are a lot of people still going to work every day today. We've got three of y'all right now on this show that going out every day, handling y'all job, doing what y'all got to do for the good of other people. But that's at a big risk. The question is,
Yeah.
have we got so desensitized that we're willing to ignore the risks and the fact that we can hit 100,000 people dead in 3 months?
Well,
Let's not forget that. That's 1,000 people dying a day on average in just 3 months. That's more than almost every war we've ever had, with the exception of the Civil War. And this has been 3 months.
That
well, the
just
thing,
goes back to what I was saying of it not being taken as serious as it should have been.
Mhm.
But also, I mean, the people that have passed away, um, and forgive me, but I don't have any numbers in front of me. But are senior members? I mean, if you're an athlete and you're in top shape, top condition, chances are you can fight that, and that's what they've been doing. I mean, I don't really see again. you're in the best physical shape of your life, and from all the news reports, they're saying that most of the people that passed away have underlying conditions. Most of our athletes don't have those conditions
But I
that we
don't think.
know of.
But G Money at this point in the game, I don't think that we have enough data to support the long-term effects of even if you do have COVID-19, there's no positive or enough, like I said, data to really know how this is going to affect the individual athlete long term. I mean, you potentially could have debilitating career-ending injuries because you're actually in competition in sport related to COVID-19. So
Before we move on to specifically talking about the specific sports, let's just realize a lot of people, I agree with you, a lot of people, young people, have recovered from this virus. But like Ed just said, the long-term ramifications have not been figured out yet. And the fact that a lot of them, even though they recovered, are still having issues as far as respiratory issues after recovering. So if you're a high performing athlete and you have any issue with your respiratory system after getting this, your career could be over anyway. But that's just me. So let's get into specifically basketball. Seems like the NBA has pushed forward towards relocating everything down to Orlando, to Disney's Wide World of Sports complex, creating a bubble. It seems like they're starting to say that they're not going to bring all of the teams there, that they may only bring the top 16 teams for the playoffs, or maybe a couple of more for a playoff. Hey, Mom, and then move on from there. So, what do y'all think about the NBA's plans of possibly moving everything down to Orlando and creating a bubble to get the season going mid-July?
I
Hey,
well,
mean,
I
I
let
think.
me
think. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, J3.
No, go
Um,
ahead.
so I think that the NBA and Major League Baseball, we're going to get into both of those leagues in a second. They seem to be having the most issues as far as coming up with a plan that both the players, the unions can agree to, and then also the teams can agree to, or the league can agree to. Um, just right now, there doesn't seem to be a consensus within the NBA community as far as um, who's going to come back, if they're going to resume the regular season, or if they're just going to go into a playoff format. Because there's stars that's already coming out saying that there's no point for us to continue playing if there's no hope of us getting into the playoffs. So if you're just bringing us back just to fill a couple seats and maybe generate some revenue for that particular team, it doesn't benefit me or behoove me to come back and even play. As far as the question of isolating and playing in a bubble, I think that is the best way to go in order to semi-control and contain your environment. And as far as the COVID-19 is concerned, you can't have these players and personnel traveling in confined spaces for long distances with recirculated air. It's just easier, I think, to control the spread of the virus if it's in one spot, or even like the NHL, 2 spots. So if they can agree on something, which right now they haven't, I think it would be a good thing.
So excuse me. So did I hear correctly that the NHL decided to go ahead, skip the regular season, and go straight to the playoff season?
Yeah, they agreed. They agreed to, as of March 12th, when the season was halted, as far as the standings and as far as like like the awards that come following the season, all that halts March 12th. And then, like Greg mentioned earlier, they're going to go into a playoff system with 2 hub cities. They haven't determined them. They're still working out those details. But yeah, they're going straight into the playoffs, which I think the NBA should do.
Now, did the
I mean, and
NHL
that way
have
you
many
can make.
teams on the bubble?
What,
Ed, did
what,
the NHL have as many teams on the bubble as the NBA did? Because I co-sign what you were saying. Damian Lillard of the Portland Trailblazers did speak out. I think they may have been in the ninth or tenth spot back, and he was saying
Mhm.
if there's not a real legit opportunity for them to make up those games and get into the playoffs, he didn't want to play. So I do understand his frustration. But is that the same thing that's going on in the NHL? Do you have some teams that's sitting out on the bubble? I'm not
Gen-
100% sure. That's why I asked.
Generally in the NHL, you generally have in the last few weeks of the season, there's generally two to three teams in each league that are on the bubble that might make the playoffs. So to appease those teams and also to get more TV markets in, they decided to add four more teams from each conference to the playoff mix.
So from the standard 16 total, they went to the 24.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's only 32 teams in the league. So that's more than 2/3 of the teams that'll be in the playoffs.
So how would that affect the NBA if the NBA did the same thing? I mean, if you were tied going into COVID-19, what would be the difference if you just added a couple of more cities?
Well, right
They
now,
all going down to Florida, right?
The-
It is Florida, right?
yeah,
Yes.
Orlando, right?
right now, the only thing that's on the table that I've heard, because it seems like they don't want to bring any teams like Golden State or the Wizards that have no chance of playing the playoffs and possibly expose them to the bubble. No, I mean, why bring more people to the bubble
If they ain't
and
gonna
risk
make it.
more people possibly being infected or giving somebody something when you don't need to? The question is, where do you cut it off? Do you cut it off at the 16 teams that are left that already made the playoffs after the 67 to 70 games they played? Or there's the talk of a play-in tournament where they take 7, 8, 9, and 10 and make them play in for those last two spots. Because once you get past 10, those teams shouldn't be there anyway.
And I think the
I was
NBA
thinking maybe
is
like you just do a one and done.
Well,
Okay, so go ahead, John.
the
the
NBA,
plan.
I think, is also dealing with another issue alongside with the early closings from COVID-19. The fact that sometimes in the Western Conference, you have so many teams that are doing better than half the teams that are making the playoffs out of the Eastern Conference. So if I'm a Dame Lillard, I would be hot.
Yep.
Because not only do I have an opportunity, you're taking away my opportunity to battle for a spot in my conference. I then have to sit back and watch a team out of the Eastern Conference make it, and I have 15, 20 wins better than them.
True.
So I will be a bit
Yeah.
frustrated. NBA has a bigger issue to deal with. You know, it's a lot going on over there because you're going to slight a lot of all-stars from doing what they train to do, and let's make a strong push to make it into the big dance, if you will.
But
Yeah,
John,
basically, I wouldn't care how he feels because they should go by the rules that they have in place now. That's been a problem for many years where you've been top heavy on the Western Conference and you got weak Eastern Conference teams sneaking in. So when we resume, who cares how they feel? They already knew how the NBA operated before this all came about. So him getting upset now is water under the bridge. I want to see them go ahead and move forward if they're going to bring it back to a format that's conducive for the teams that were playing their butts off and they got a record that's conducive to getting the playoffs. I don't want any special treatment just because of COVID. Let us go back to as much as the regular format as we can so we can get this stuff started and conclude the seasons. I mean, the thing is, they're going to do it anyway. I mean, we can go back and forth debating about what should and what should not be done. But like we've been saying for about 6 weeks now, what talks? Money. And people want to get back on there. And then people aren't talking about the players who want to get back on the court and on the field. Everybody's not against this. There are people that want to get back. They tired of sitting at home. They want to get back in the facilities and they want to earn, like you said, Johnny, for their families. So they have a right to do that. We live in a free society. And guess what? These owners want to get back to work. So it's going to happen.
I feel you. Well put. Well put, Jamani. Well put, Jamani.
I wish I could have heard it.
We don't know what
Dude, I
you.
don't know why you can't hear. I don't.
That's crazy. So Dana White and the UFC have come back. Overseas baseball is actually being shown on ESPN in the morning.
Mm.
You got NASCAR that's been back for 2 weeks. They're racing 8 races in 11 days.
Hmm.
Golf has been back twice for charity now, but they're just setting the stage for golf to come back full time. So, as Jamani said, Professor Jay said, these owners are looking at all these other people starting to make money again. They're saying, we got to
Yeah,
figure this out.
but you
Damn
also
if I
got to
care
think
about
about
what happens to the players.
you also got to think
But
about this too, Reg. I mean, for the sports that you just listed, there's no people in the stands. These are all individual type of sports, so they can do that because you're not exposing as many people to whatever sport that they're looking at. So that's something that they got to consider.
We
So is
we
the money
just had a
coming from
comment saying that the players should all sign a liability waiver. That's the point.
That's
You're gonna
it.
make me play and then make me sign away my rights and make you I don't
more of a
agree with that, but
billionaire?
that's a whole nother conversation because they're gonna try to do that for people at jobs too, but we ain't gonna get we ain't gonna get caught in that one.
well, there's definitely going to be some sort of liability waiver when you're talking about college athletes. Now, professional athletes, we might be talking about something different. But as far as college athletes, that might be they may have to sign something like that. As far as the not the players, but the schools might be liable for those said players.
Well, since you brought up college, I was gonna try to save that to the end.
No, I just snuck that in there. We don't got to jump into that just yet.
Okay. Let's talk about what's
Always
going on
sneaking,
with Major
Ed.
League Baseball. It seems like both sides say they want to play, but now you got billionaires and millionaires arguing about how to split money again in the middle of a pandemic when the players have already agreed with the owners when they canceled and postponed the season that they would take a prorated rate of what their contracts were and just pay me however many games we play, whatever that prorated rate is, and we're good.
Yeah,
So they've already
but then the
accepted the
owners
loss.
came in, but then the owners came in with the okey doke, and because Major League Baseball's union is strong, now the owners was like, well, hold up. If we don't have fans, that means revenue is actually going to go down. So because revenue is going to go down, we can't really pay what we agreed to in March. That's the
Okay,
issue.
Go ahead, J3.
but what's it all about? Is it about the people? Is it about the money? Or is it about the championship? And we all know it's all about the money. So they ain't really concerned about when it's gonna happen or where it's gonna happen. They're concerned about how much money they're gonna make.
That's
So
Period.
what was the split? What was the original agreement between the owners and players? Why
The
change it?
the original agreement was they're going to try to do 50% season with 50% reduction, basically half of their salaries. That was the original agreement.
You breaking up a
Then,
little
but they
bit,
all
Ed. Hey, Ed, you're breaking up a
oh
little bit. Let me jump in here real quick. Yeah, the original agreement was first of all, there is no salary cap in Major League Baseball.
right.
So the original agreement is you pay me a prorated rate of my
Mhm.
contract. Now the owners want to come back and say, no, we want to give you 50% of whatever the revenues are, and then we're going to tell you what the revenues are. So they're trying to basically backdoor in a salary cap.
Mm, mm, mm.
Nah, they got to come off that money.
It's all
Well,
about the dollars, bro. It's all
am
about the dollars.
I still breaking up?
Oh, you
No, we
sound
hear you.
better
Go ahead.
now.
So, in addition to what the Reg said, when the owners came back with that proposal, that because they don't have fans, they want to reduce the salaries even further. The players was like, okay, I tell you what, we don't agree with that, but because this is a good faith negotiation, let's see the books. The owners refused to give them all the books. They gave them some of the books. They didn't give them all of the books. So they're at a standstill right now. That's what happened.
So is there any way they can say, okay, let's just hypothetically throw out a number, say $100 million. You all get half of this and we keep the other half and let that be it? Or
the players said they don't want revenue sharing because they believe that because first of all, Major League's current contract ends at the end of next season.
Mm-hmm.
So the players and the players union feels that anytime you start approaching revenue sharing, you have you start getting into the realm of a potential salary cap. Major League Baseball has no salary cap, does not desire a salary cap. That's the issue.
Major League Baseball Players Union doesn't want a salary cap.
Owners
want a salary cap.
I thought I was clear on that.
Yeah. I'm sure they don't want to keep paying people $256 million to play baseball.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So the threat that the owners are holding over the players' head is if they don't play this year, that voids the last year of next year's contract, and they can totally renegotiate the deal, and then make the players look like they're being greedy, saying, "Look, everybody knows the situation. People unemployed, and y'all won't even play for 50% of what we're gonna make."
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that the players or any labor is always deemed greedy, and even though these players are millionaires by contracts, by what their contracts say and what they earn, never forget that the owners are paying these millionaires that money. And so it's easy to look at the players as being greedy when all they want is what's fair. That's really all what labor wants is what's fair. Whether we can't get carried away as fans with the astronomical numbers that they're being paid. 200, whatever, 300, 400, whatever, how many millions of dollars they're being paid, because just never forget that whatever the owner's paying them is a drop in the bucket to them.
But let me ask a question.
I'll tell you what, them players are not going to allow. The players are not going to allow the season not to kick off. I think they eventually will agree because they want to make some money.
But let me ask a question. So we all in the general public have had to accept the new norm. Why they can't do the same thing?
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know
about it. In what ways are they not accepting the new norm? In what ways are they not accepting the new norm? I'm just saying, what ways are they not? They want to get back to work just like anybody else does. They got a lifestyle they want to pay for just like anybody else does. Right. The only privilege they might have is they get access to more testing than we do, quicker testing.
But they're the only league that don't have a salary cap, right?
That's true.
So
baseball.
The new norm is, okay, everybody gets a salary cap now.
Yeah, their union isn't going to go for that.
Yeah, I'm about to say that.
If you want me to revenue share with you, but you won't show me the books, how do I know what the revenue really is?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that the American way? American
way. But G Money, one thing that you have to understand about Major League Baseball, like, and even more so than any other professional sports league in this particular in our country, when you talk about old school and old guard and traditions, they've set the standard. I mean, they've been around since forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Major League Baseball, I'm sorry, I can't hear.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, but we get an echo from.
We keep it moving because it seems like Ed is having some technical difficulties.
It's probably Sonny got behind him.
Yeah, I didn't want to be the one to sleep on it.
That's funny.
He's a
Let's
Steelers
all
fan.
right.
That comes
Let's
with his
move it
own
on
problems.
to. But before we move it on, I see some posts that came through, and one that just really caught my eye real quick is the fact that, and people say it a lot of times. What about the average 9 to 5 person that goes to work that make it? If you were working a job and your boss came and told you that he wanted you to take a 50% pay cut with no reason behind it, you're going to question that too. That's all I'm saying. And you'll make the decision: are you going to continue to work there or not?
We're getting the echo.
Good point.
Yeah, let's just keep that moving. Now, the next one we're dealing with is the NCAA, college football.
Whew.
You've got so-called student athletes who are being required to report back to school this week to start voluntary training to play college football amid a pandemic. I got a problem with that. I got a major problem with forcing, because anybody who says that a college athlete has a choice is misinformed.
Big time.
The
Very
only
misinformed.
the only college athlete that might have a choice right now is Trevor, from the quarterback at Clemson, because he can just
Trevor
sit out all
Lawrence.
year and still be a top 5 draft pick in the NFL next year. Other than that, you better be there or you're gonna lose your scholarship.
Real talk.
So, I mean, one of the
Johnny, you
reasons
look like you gotta say something.
Yeah.
Johnny, go ahead, man. Let it out. Let it out.
For the
Exhale first,
college
man.
kids.
Exhale. Exhale.
Okay, I'm breathing. This is the way I look at it. I think if they do choose to take away individual scholarships that they rightfully earned before the pandemic, I do believe that's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. But the question is, what we're saying to the young people is they have to consider whether or not they want to take the life or death risk. Because that's basically what it is. If you take away my scholarship, say I have a scholarship to play ball, and I don't want to lose my scholarship, I really don't. But if I feel as though if I'm on the field, that may be leading me to my death, then I will take the loss of scholarship. It's wrong, it's unfair, I don't like it, it puts me in a bad spot, the world has done me dirty. But if I'm ultimately worried about my life and I still have my life in the end, or I feel like I did what I needed to do to protect my life, then I'm willing to live with that decision and deal with anything else that comes after. But if it's life, I'm fighting for my life. Now, if I become pro-life and that chooses me, that causes me to lose some things along the way, then I have to accept that with the decision. That it all goes together. It's unfair. It's not right. That is life. It's life. I mean, what are you going to do?
Good point.
I
Good point.
just think that going back to school just as a regular student is a risk. For one, the dorms, that's close quarters right there. It's
Right.
it's 2 people to a room, 4 people to a suite, maybe 6. And at most, it's at least 6 people to a bathroom in any college. And I think that it's a huge risk for even me to go back to school. I lived in community living. My freshman and my sophomore year. And I'll just say that, sometimes the building isn't as well kept up as it should. And I'm not going to say that schools are not going to do a good job with sanitation. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying at what point does it make anybody feel safe to live in a dorm during this pandemic? especially for the college athletes. I know if they go back now, they'll be the only people on campus if they go back right now.
And I think that's the issue with you being a student. That's on one side of the coin, but we're talking about student athlete that one thing we know, they're going to automatically be tested as soon as they walk into the building. Every single time they walk into the building, they're going to be tested. Whereas you're not going to be tested. I understand your reservations, and I got that. But again, these student athletes, especially the ones that's on a scholarship, isn't that sort of like a contract? I pay you to I give you education, and you agree to pay or play this sport for me. So are we into breaking contracts now? We into breaking scholarships now?
You can't hold anybody legally to a contract that may put their life at risk unless they've agreed to put their
people break
life
contracts all the time.
They do, and I got that part. But again, because the universities are taking the position that we need this to go on to operate, they're going to test everybody that comes in contact with this. As soon as you walk on the court, as soon as you walk on the field, as soon as you walk in the rink, as soon as you walk on the golf course, whatever the case may be, you're going to be tested. And
there is no
again,
uniform testing. So what is
okay,
test?
well,
We're
I
going
don't
to give
know
you a
if you
temperature check each day, which has been proven is totally ineffective.
even if it is, again, so then what is the purpose of all the professional athletes going back to work if the college people aren't going back to work? I don't see the difference here. One's getting paid to go, one's getting education to go. I do understand
They both
that
getting
part.
paid.
I do understand that part. But
They both getting paid.
but the end still it's still the same thing in the sense that you're here or you're coming here to perform, to do a specific task, whereas I'm paying you over here to do the task.
I think that goes to what Jay Manny was saying, was that it's at a school, it's closed counter, it has its own little ecosystem going on. I think we touched on a couple of weeks about it. So you got several thousand kids who are all jovial, who all think they can do cartwheels off the top of the tree and land on their homeboys. They're just having fun. They're just having fun. If you think Rudy Gobert was a nut when he went into the room after the game to have a conference and was touching all on the mics, what do you think these 17, 18-year-olds are doing who are 1,500 miles away from mommy and daddy, and they can't
In
wait
locker
to cut this?
rooms,
And locker rooms.
cutting up
They're
with
going
each
to have a
other.
field day. And you still, in my opinion, I think you're still cutting it close with the professional athletes. But I'm hoping you're doing what's necessary to protect you and your family as I go out to work and do what's necessary to protect me and my family. I come in contact with people all the time. I just have to make sure I'm washing my hands 1,000 times a day. I got hand sanitizer all over the place. I feel like Spider-Man with it. My mask is all right. I'm all over the place with it. My hands are turning light gray because I'm washing them all the time. I mean,
Need some
this is
lotion.
a climate where you're going to have to do what you got to do, and we have to make sure we're not being too critical over the next person. I think we're putting a lot of pressure on us playing ball. So they're going to figure out if they can to get back on the field as well as the owners.
Let's get real.
Okay.
The only reason they're trying to get back on the field is for the $1 billion TV contract.
The owners, right?
Playing
But what
this
about
stuff.
the athletes? They're not trying to pay their bills too.
And again, if you're a senior, you're looking at the next level, professionalism, playing sports. You want to get back on that field.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're going to take that.
And you have to protect athletes from themselves sometimes.
Right.
But Reggie, realistically, in college, I thought someone said in college, realistically, we can walk outside and slip and fall.
Yep. Agreed.
You don't, but you don't. But you,
That's what happened to John Wall. Re-injured that hamstring.
you don't.
John
You
Wall
don't
was doing the
slip and
steak
fall.
leg in the front yard, and he ripped his hamstring again.
Say stick leg.
I think my thing is you don't just slip like in the analogy sense. You don't just slip and fall in college. You slip, fall, bust your head, and crack your head wide open. There's more. I feel like colleges is like one big, what's it called, like the petri dish thing. Everybody is right there. Everybody's basically on top of each other. There's even talk from my school on social media about when we gonna have the back to school party. Ain't no party. There is no
Right, because they're not concerned about their life. They're not concerned about the
That's
next
what I'm saying.
person's life.
Especially college athletes, they either want to go to the NFL or they trying to make sure that they mommy and daddy don't have to pay for their college. They don't care.
But hold on. Again, they're talking about only bringing back the student athlete at this point. Am I missing something? So they want to bring everybody back.
All right, here's what's going on. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I switched headphones. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, you loud and clear.
So the reason that the colleges are in a rush to try to figure out a way to get, first of all, I'm against it, just to put that out there. But the reason why these colleges are in a rush to try to get back is because, and it's not all athletes, and we've talked about this already. It's not all athletes. It's just football players. It's football. They can care less about any other sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
Football, it's a fact. It's on the record. 50% of college athletics budgets is a result of football revenue. Right. That's $4 billion between the Power Five at least. It's at least $4 billion they split. That's why they trying to figure out every way possible to get this sport. Not all athletes don't. I hate when they keep saying all athlete, and it's not all athletes. It's college football. That's it. And as a result of this, and again, I've said this many times, you have the major Power Five colleges that are in a rush to get back, but you have these little colleges that get paid millions of dollars to play these big schools. Their entire athletic departments are contingent on playing and getting these $1 million payouts from the Alabamas, the Georgias, the LSUs, the Ohio States, etc. So that's why it's critical. The Navy AD came out and said, and Navy, supported by tax dollars, American taxpayers, their AD came out and said it's critical to get football back on the field. He was blunt. He was honest. So that's the only reason they're going to do everything possible. At first, they were saying, "Well, if it's no students, college students, it's no football." But now they're flip flopping on that because everyone who runs these colleges, they know exactly what's at stake and they know who pays the bills. It's not lacrosse. It's not volleyball.
Hey! Be careful there. Be careful there. Be careful.
It's definitely not swimming.
And of course they flip flopping, Ed, because anytime you got the home of touchdown Jesus, Notre Dame University, you got their AD and presidents on television on CNN talking about we want to do everything to protect the students, but in the same token, they want to get football back on that field. You know when you hear it coming from the University of Notre Dame that it's something that's going across all sports.
But hold on. Listen, but hold on. What's the ramification for not getting back to work, to getting back to business?
We've already G-Money. We're already seeing that. There's already been
100,000 people dead.
Well, outside of the death toll, there's already colleges that have canceled athlete programs. I mean, you can look. There's already schools that have said, okay, no more baseball, no more volleyball. I mean, it's already happening right now. It's already happening
because professors getting laid off. That's what's happening. Right. People getting laid off in the classroom.
But again, you guys are going to tell me that this is the new norm. This is what it is. And agree. Go back to what Reggie said about if my employer said, "Guy, you got to take a 50% pay cut." Heck no. You already know. But at some point, if they don't get back to business, then what's going to happen the next year that there's a breakout, or the year after that there's a breakout? At some point, you got to say, you know what, we got to go back to work.
But that's just it, though. We're not debating.
It's hard to take this point of view with it, but We can go on and on and on each year, every 6 months. There's another breakout, there's another breakout, there's another breakout. And we're right back in this same situation. If
But we're
America
not.
or the world is crying for sports,
Let them have it.
if they're crying for entertainment, what,
At the expense
whatever,
of the athletes, though. Yeah, I
That's what
want
I
my
was going to
sport,
say.
but if y'all got to die, that's on y'all.
We're
hey,
not saying
again,
no. We're not saying we're not going to have a sport. We're just saying we want to ensure that the athletes that are playing are going to be in a safe environment. I mean, right
you
now we have there's no vaccine for this pandemic,
you
this
can't.
virus.
But I go to work every day. I think Johnny said
But
he goes to work every day.
I go to work.
We put our life out there every single day. That's the only guarantee. I gotta get up and go.
hey, but G
There's no
Money,
guarantee.
G Money,
You
we're
Understand,
we're talking
understand
about
that.
two different. But
Understand that.
just so that we're clear as far as this conversation is concerned, we're talking about two different things. Now, we probably can agree with the pro athletes because they're pros.
Mhm.
With college athletes, that's an entire separate conversation that we're having right now. So, any argument as far as we as normal folk got to go out and go to work, that doesn't really hold. Even though college athletes get scholarships, that doesn't hold the weight of a pro because technically these are kids.
And
So that's
98 to
basically
99% of them are never going to play professional sport.
so
Nope.
But
what's
go ahead, J Money. I'm sorry.
so and that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of these college athletes, they're only playing this sport so mommy and daddy don't have to pay for school.
That's not always the case.
I mean, it's not
That's
always the case.
Yeah, that's a small percentage though.
Yeah, that. But see,
But
my thing is,
how many? What percent of college athletes that go to college and play a sport? What percentage of them do you think they are going pro?
well, if you're in Division One,
Oh,
chances are you
100% think they're
that you
going
right.
pro.
Yeah,
2% do.
yeah.
When you get down to Division 2 and 3, yeah, it gets a little shaky.
Okay, I get the Division One, but what about? And I'm an HBCU student, so what about these HBCU students?
But that's my point. That's why you guys got to get back to work because
I wouldn't risk
if we
it.
don't get back to work, your school.
I wouldn't risk it. Morehouse don't
No,
need to put a team on the field.
and that's what I'm
Sorry.
and that's exactly what I'm saying. These HBCU football
Nope.
players, not even 1% of them are going to make
Right.
it pro.
Way
No,
less.
I
So
got
why are you risking? Why are you
It's
risking
point
at
zero
least
zero
a
zero
quarter?
one.
You risking a quarter of the student body population,
more than that. But
risking more than that for what?
Yep.
Wow.
because
Wow. A 20
Yep.
a 20 something said, I hear you, J Minnie.
19 right now.
because America is saying we need to get back to work.
Okay.
We need to get back to the quote unquote norm.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, but if you're not going to play these sports again, just talking about football, because football is what 60, 70, 80% of some of these schools' budgets.
Yeah.
We looking at a lot of HBCUs that could possibly go
Okay.
within a 5-year period if they have not planned or save money or put money aside for emergency situations. We're looking at a lot of these universities, in particular some of the smaller ones, that can go.
They're not gonna make it, and that's a reason why a lot of HBCUs are pressing these students to come back because they wouldn't make it without room and board. They're not gonna make it without.
Okay,
Wow.
so you work tomorrow.
Okay.
Let's end this here. Because J Minnie killing them today. I hear you, J Minnie.
Yeah,
I
J.
appreciate you being here.
For sure.
You might be
Let's end it
grounded
here.
after this, but you killing it.
Oh yeah, she grounded.
Our football players, the 2020 Gladiators, and we just going to put them out there for our entertainment, regardless of their long-term health considerations, because we all have to agree there is no nationwide testing policy that's set up. Everybody's doing it by their own guidelines, school by school. The SEC is at least trying to do it by conference. So you don't know who's actually developing the plan for these students to be on these campuses. And you're going to just entrust your kid to go back and play a full contact sport that you're going to get spit on, you're going to get breathed on. All right, I'm going to get off my soapbox. Because we've been on this for a long time. Let's move on to our
This
next
the whole
subject.
show right here. This should have been the whole show.
You're right about that, J Minnie. But we got to talk about the Rooney Rule.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
What is it?
Ed, give us a little synopsis of what the Rooney Rule was and what they're looking to do with it.
I'll give you a six. This is a
Psych.
real. This is real quick. The Rooney Rule was adopted in 2003, and it came about as a result of Tony Dungy and I believe it was
Dennis
Caldwell.
Herman Lewis.
Dennis,
Yeah, Dennis Green. It was Dennis
Right.
Green who
Dennis
got
Green.
fired. Dennis Green was
Rest in
coached
peace.
10 years, and I think he had one losing season. Tony
One.
Dungy,
One.
Tony
in 10
Dungy,
years.
I don't think he had suffered a losing season. But anyway, it came
Tony
about
Dungy had a
because
winning record.
it came about because
You think?
they were trying to. The NFL wanted to bring diversity, more diversity within the coaching ranks. Only coaching ranks at the time, head coaching ranks of the NFL. So the Rooney Rule was named after Dan Rooney, who was the late Dan Rooney. He's since passed.
Yeah, you like
of the
that,
Pistons.
don't you?
I don't
You
like
like
that
that, don't
Dan Rooney died. No, I don't like that. he
I
died.
mean, you like that.
Really?
It's your
Really
man
is.
from Pittsburgh.
Well,
That's what it is.
Dan Rooney just happened to be the chairman of the diversity committee of the NFL. That's why it was named after him. And basically, the rule stated that all teams had to hire at least, interview at least
Right.
one,
interview.
Get it right.
at least
Right.
one. I'm getting it right. At least one minority, or actually, it was specific African American coach and candidate before they make the final decision on any head coaching vacancy. So that's how it came about being. And that was in
the reason
2003.
behind this, I think there was some people behind the scenes that thought that if they could get more minority candidates in front of the owners and GMs who actually made the decisions on who to hire the coach, that would give them a possibility to become comfortable with the idea of possibly hiring a minority coach. That was the original thought process.
Still got a tap dance.
Now they have already approved some adjustments to this Rooney Rule, because unfortunately what happened is teams figured out a loophole around, I only have to interview one minority contended. So I'm going to go grab the DB coach down the hall, sit in the room with him for 5 minutes and say we interviewed, and then I can go ahead and select whoever I want.
And send him right back to the defensive backs.
And see that's
fire him when
I
the new
read
coach
that that's
was
a
hired.
violation of the rule right there, because you supposed to pick somebody from another
Are y'all
team. It
aware
should
that
never
shortly
be in
after
house.
is Jamal?
No,
I'm sorry.
at first, Jamad, Professor J, at first it wasn't specific. You did not have to necessarily go outside your organization to interview the minority candidate. They have since made a revision as of, I believe, last week, where you had to go outside the organization, or at least two for the head coach position, at least two outside interviews for the head coach position, and that, as far as minority is concerned. But at first, it didn't say that you had to go outside the organization.
Okay.
That's why teams were
So they
go
updated
down
that
the hall. Right. Well, it wasn't quick. It took 17 years.
No, I'm talking about that revision that you just made, because in my research, it said that they had to go outside of the organization. So if that wasn't the original writing in the Rooney Rule, then it was changed really quickly. So
They
said,
just changed that. They literally just changed that. That's part of the new
That's what I'm
update
saying.
they just approved.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's still a slap in the face, because you have
Of
individuals who have the talent to lead a position or one side of the team, and not having the opportunity to even get to do their job because they're not offered the job. And half of these daggone coaches or owners have never even played the sport.
Right. And then if you pull me from down the hall, I mean, don't they know they being used? Like, I would have an issue with that. If I'm a DB coach or wide receiver coach and you pulling me in just to say that you are satisfying the precepts of the Rooney Rule, I'm already knowing that something stinks.
But do you
That's
have
why
a
the
choice?
Black Coaches
You always have a
Association-
choice, Ed. You always have a choice. Do
the
you want
Black
to make
Coaches
that choice? Is your
Association were
question.
actually telling coaches that if they were in that situation, they should decline the interviews. It got to that point where they were telling people don't do the interviews because
I
they
agree.
saw it as a workaround. So with the new improvements, to hit it again, you have to interview for head coaching jobs or GM jobs. You've got to interview two. Now they've changed it to minority. So that can be a minority, that can be female, African American, Latino, any minority class from outside the organization.
Diversity, you gotta have it.
If
Why?
it's a
Gentlemen, do you need,
What you mean? Why?
Go ahead, Johnny.
Wow.
gentlemen, do you all need 17 years to pass by for you to realize something isn't working right or
We
something is
don't
funny?
know.
It ain't us though. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not. It's not like we don't
We
understand
don't.
or realize it.
And they don't either, but they doing what they want because they make that.
Got the power, right?
So
Well, I
the
just
question
think
is,
go ahead,
I'm
Ed.
sorry, go ahead, Big Reg. Go ahead.
I think there's people at the league level who want to try to do the right thing and help push diversity along in the league level. The problem is they're trying to implement rules for people who are their bosses, the owners, who actually make the decisions on who they have to hire.
Right.
So until they get the owners, a good majority of the owners to fully buy into this program, it'll never be successful. And they'll
Well, of
keep
course not.
spinning their wheels because they figure we're billionaires, we can do what we want to.
Which is the
Right.
reason why I asked the
Okay.
question why.
So
That
so
was my reason.
so the question again is, should or does the NFL or does the NFL league office or who works for the NFL owners, some other outside organizations such as the Free Holland organization, which is it's an organization that's named after the first black head coach ever, and they basically monitor and promote diversity within the coaching ranks of the NFL. And the NFL consults them on a lot of issues related to diversity. But should any organization or the league office, should they have the authority, should they have the right to tell owners who to interview and hire for their organizations? That's the question. Do they have the
Yeah.
right to do this?
Yes. There should be checks and balances in any business, sport, government. You should have a way to check the injustices that are going on. I don't care how you want to look at it. So yeah, there should be a governing body or somebody to say this stinks and there needs to be a change in it. And I mean all the way up to the ownership level. I think that there needs to be something done there. But we aren't talking enough about that. I know we want to stick to the Rooney Rule, but realistically, unless we start at the top and start changing the way it looks there, we aren't going to get a whole lot of real change.
Totally agree, because look at the ownership. Just like Professor Jay said, there was an opportunity for minorities to actually purchase a team, and what happened? They changed the rules, so they couldn't get the team. And until, like Professor Jay just stated, until we have ownership of teams, we're never going to see any major change in the leadership in the NFL. It's just not going to happen.
It's just not ownership of a team. You got to win. You could be a minority.
Yeah, but a lot of sorry owners out there had some terrible teams for many years, but they still at the top.
It doesn't matter if they are of a different, just say nationality.
That's why I'm saying we got to change it. But I'm going to just say it for the record. I think a majority of players are just cowards because you're the ones putting the product on the field. You could make a stand and make a change if you had enough gumption to do so. I just feel that way strongly.
So you ready for Daniel Snyder to step aside, is what you're telling me.
Oh, yeah. I've been ready for him to step aside. On the record.
And Jerry Jones for that record as well. Absolutely.
Okay. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Gotta go.
Professor Jay, I do agree with you as far as, and we've talked about this before, I do agree with you as far as players should be the ones who make the stand if they actually want this change, because we're just talking about it, but we don't play. They're the ones who actually playing. We're just participating in it as far as watching it, talking about it, wearing purchasing their merchandise and whatnot. But it's easier. It's like I said, and you said we all have choice, and that's true. It's easier.
Breaking up again, Ed.
It's killing me.
I'm sorry, partner. You was in it deep too. We missed about half of that. I don't know what is going on with your internet connection tonight. Um,
Can I say something?
yes, ma'am.
I don't necessarily agree with the players being cowards. I don't think it's so much so that they're cowards. I think it's much as that they're doing their job. I mean, at one point I see what
Oh,
you're
you know I'm
saying. You
gonna
have
kick
to say
back.
something,
Yeah, go ahead.
but they're not cowards. Look what happened to Colin Kaepernick.
Thank
Look
you.
what
Yeah, how
happened.
many
Exactly.
people
They
That
changed
stood with him,
they
Jay
changed
Manny?
the
How
rules. They
many
have
people stood with him? How many? How many
And
stood
then
with
they
him?
changed the rules and made the players sit in the locker room until the
No, no,
national
no.
anthem was
Tell me
over.
how many stood with Colin Kaepernick. Was
Not
it a
many.
handful or was it a lot? And look
It
at the
was
league. How many minorities play in the league?
a
But you
lot.
only had a handful of players that stood up to say anything about us getting killed in the streets. So
But
they not
All
cowards?
right,
I
all right.
disagree.
at what point are you just doing your job? You just getting a
You can
paycheck.
do your job and still stand for justice at the same time. I do it every day. You can
Just
still
like
do
Jordan
both.
did.
just
Uh-oh.
like the Jordan documentary we went to on last week. Not everybody is built to make social stances,
Hmm.
and
But
we
more
can't
than a
expect.
few are built.
Oh, I
More than a
agree.
few.
I agree. We
Okay.
But
can't expect everybody to make a social stance because there is a definite financial risk that you got to be willing to pay to do that. But
so instead of making a social stance, why don't the league, the player reps, and the player reps and owners come up with a business plan? Let's be this.
Ah,
Let's. Am I breaking up?
Yes.
yes.
yes, I'm sorry,
Ooh,
partner. I'm sorry, partner. We
man.
appreciate what you're trying
I
to
agree with
give
you,
us
Herman.
to us. Maybe you want to try to reset and come back in and join us for the next segment. But yeah, I mean, players got to make a decision on how they want to try to further the best interest for future players, not just themselves. And not all of them are going to be willing to make that decision to do
Yeah,
that.
but you
And if they
just
are,
like
you have to have a group of them stand up together and stay together because it's easy to get rid of one individual. It's hard to get rid of a group of people.
well, there was quite a few individuals that actually stood up for social justice doing football. I mean, they either kneeled or they sat down. But look what happened to them. Just like you said, most of them couldn't sustain the financial deficit that they were losing, so they ended up standing. It wasn't because they wanted to, but
What
they
happened
needed
to
that
them? They
paycheck.
were blackballed.
Yeah, that too. Say it again,
They
Johnny. Go
were
ahead.
ran out the league. They were ran out the league. I couldn't hear Jamani. I'm pretty sure. Excuse me, Professor J. I'm pretty sure he was putting out some great information. But I have to admire from afar. But I don't
Them
expect.
broken
I
headphones
don't.
you
If
got.
it's up to owners, I don't expect them to.
Yeah, you heard that, right?
Go ahead, man. Finish your statement.
He done.
I'm
He
sure.
done that. All right, to finish up on the Rooney Rule, just to add the other enhancements, um, NFL teams also have to create a coaching fellowship that has to be a minimum of 1 to 2 years. That's a full-time paid position, specifically set up for minority, so that they can get involved in the coaching profession and hopefully be able to gradually grow in the ranks. Also, for the assistant coaches out there, teams can no longer deny assistant coaches ability to actually interview for other positions as long as it's a lateral or a promotion. Because a lot of football coaches got caught up if they're on a good team, they can't interview till after the end of the playoffs. If they made it to the Super Bowl, all the jobs were gone and they got stuck. So those are the main things that got updated with the Rooney Rule. Welcome back, Ed. Welcome back. Hopefully we'll have good
Am I
signal with you
still
this
cutting up?
time.
Am I still cutting up?
Immediately.
Yeah, that's you, partner. It's your internet connection this week.
It's the sign behind them. It's not the internet. It's the sign.
It's blocking all the good vibes.
It's blocking.
Yeah, somebody said you need to stop moving, Ed. They say every time you move, you break up.
Black and gold. Black and gold.
Yeah, and you froze. Now, yeah, you just having a rough weekend, partner. Rough week. We will have to catch up with you on the other side. Last but not least, let's talk about my man Dakota Prescott.
Dakota, not Dak. Dakota.
Call the man by his real name.
Dakota.
Wow.
You've got a man who was drafted in the 4th round, number 135, who has started every game for the past 4 years for the Dallas Cowboys. Just to give y'all some background history again, Dak wasn't the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth. Dak was the 8th quarterback selected in the 2016 draft pick. There were some people that you may have heard of, like Goff and Wentz, that went in the 1st round. But remember Paxton Lynch? Not even in the league anymore. Also in the 1st round. Christian Hackenberg, he couldn't even stay in the XFL. Drafted in the 2nd round.
What?
Jacoby Brissett, Cody Kessler. He's backing up somewhere. Connor Cook was drafted before Dak. So Dak has played out his 4 years. Salaries are slotted in the NFL for rookies. So he just made over $2.7 million. And for all y'all out there, $2.7 million is a lot of money. I understand that. But for a professional football player, that's peanuts. Or starting
I even feel bad for him.
That's grossly underpaid. And for
He
all
needs some
y'all,
Kirk Cousins money.
we gonna get to Kirk in a second. For all y'all Dak haters, all Dak did was win 2016 NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. Made the Pro Bowl. Legitimately made the Pro Bowl. 2018 was the first alternate for the Pro Bowl. Played in the Pro Bowl. He replaced Mr. Drew Brees, who was from New Orleans. 2019, 4,900 yards, 2nd in the NFL, 30 touchdowns, 4th in the NFL, only 11 interceptions. So you got almost a 3-to-1 job. And he rushed the ball 52 times for 277 yards and gave him another 3 rushing TDs. So here's a man that's done everything for his team, never missed a down, never missed a play, but he can't get paid. G-Money,
am I still breaking up?
Get paid?
Nah, we hear you loud and clear.
Good, because I want to go in on Dak.
You said a hater.
Wow.
Oh, that was clear. But that was clear.
Yeah, that was one thing that was clear. You got to have hold on a second.
So here's the thing: both parties are in the wrong. First of all, Dak's not in the wrong for wanting to get paid. He should get paid, and I've been a proponent of that. I want Dak to get paid, but it has to be within reason. On the flip side of it, Jerry Jones dropped the ball. Jerry Jones dropped the ball because he took advantage of his starting quarterback on a rookie contract, which all owners do, and he should have renegotiated this contract at least a year before now, at least. So I blame Jerry Jones for being in this predicament right now that they're in. On the flip side, Dak he's negotiating at the worst possible time because of COVID-19.
Okay.
Because of the new CBA that the players just approved recently in the last few months, the salary cap was supposed to go up significantly next year. But the salary cap in the NFL is based all upon the previous year's revenues. So they're projecting, unless an addendum can be attached to the agreed upon CBA, unless an addendum can be attached to that, which the player union and the league owners would have to agree on, they project the salary cap going from a projected high of $215 million per team down to as low as $107 million per team or lower. which would totally alter the dynamics of most NFL teams. And really, they're estimating that only one quarterback exists today that could survive something like this, and that would be the man in Kansas City, not Dak Prescott. So
we
all I'm
understand
saying,
that, but why does
so
Dak
all I'm
Prescott
saying-
have to be the guy that has to change how the NFL system has worked at every position? Every position. If you are considered one of the top 15 at your position in a short time to come up for your contract, you reset the market. Every position. Why does Dak have to be reasonable?
Well, I'm saying he has to be reasonable because he's not that good.
Exactly.
I don't care how many. I don't care
Say
how
it
many
again.
I don't care how many Pro Bowls he's made. Pro Bowls is that's window dressing. That's nothing. It's. I mean, that's nothing. That Pro Bowl now, all pros mean something. Pro Bowls, that's half the players don't even want to go to the Pro Bowl anyway. That tells you something right there.
Second in the league in passing,
hold
fourth
on,
in
Ed.
TDs. Come on now. What's he need? What else he need to do?
G Money, you sound like you got something to say. Talk to us.
Let me just say this about
Talking to Mike.
Louder.
Speak up,
Talking
man.
to Mike.
Speak up.
Hey man, look, my daughter gave me these little things. It is what it is, man. Okay. Reggie, I'd love for you to read those stats again because it just made me smile when I heard it.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I keep coming back to, when all was said and done, what was the Jets' record when we lost against the Jets?
0-4.
Why is Dak only one responsible for wins and losses? Y'all had
Because
a
he's a
terrible coach.
quarterback.
Can we
He's
agree
the
y'all had a
quarterback.
terrible coach? Can we agree you had a terrible coach for over a decade?
We may or may not have a terrible coach. I can give you that. I'm not concerned about that. What I'm concerned with is this. With all the stuff that you just read about him, and we know that history tells us that the quarterback gets all the blame when they win and all the blame when they lose. You laid a freaking egg on the team that was 0-4.
Oh, and what?
There was no 0-4. There was no way you were supposed to lose that game. And I keep thinking in the back of my mind, there's two things that come to mind. One, when they paid Tony Romo all that money, he had to learn, Jerry Jones had to learn from that mistake. They were still paying Romo 2-3 years after he retired. You cannot go back through that again.
That was his baby.
Wasted
though.
money.
That was his
Wasted
baby.
money.
Whether it was his baby, his baby
Wasted
mama,
money. Wasted money.
Whatever it was. You cannot go into a contract like that again. I kind of think that Prescott would have taken the your boy Redskin dude that just left with the Miami.
Kirk
Cousins. I thought he would take
Minnesota.
that $35 million up front. Next year, take the $40 million. Next year, after next, whatever the case may be, you're still going to get your money. But
he's probably going to have to go the Kirk route,
exactly.
where if you can't get what you want from this one team, it is a league. There are multiple suitors. Somebody may value what you feel like you bring to the franchise. I like that.
Andy Dalton.
Keisha Prescott, I fondly call him during the regular season. I apologize for any Dallas fans. It get like that sometimes. I'm sorry. But Quanda Prescott,
please hold out.
Quanda, stop. Come on now. Let's
We beat that Burgundy and Gold twice, swept them. Go on.
Let's keep the man's name on straight. Come on now.
You're right.
Go ahead, Johnny.
So Daisha played a solid season. Daisha played. He very much like Kirk. He put up solid numbers, great completion percentage. But the problem with Dak, and I see it just like I saw it in Kirk, it's them clutch moments. And that's why they don't really want to fork over that money. It's not that they probably wouldn't meet them at their dollar, knowing they're going to make a lot more money next year. Yes, the carousel for what they pay quarterbacks is continuously going up. No doubt about it. But they just don't trust Dak all the way yet. And that's what happened with Kirk. I was one of the dudes. I was one of the guys that was really willing to ride the train with Kirk.
Y'all killing me.
I was.
Why do
I
things
was
have to
willing to
change for
ride
the
the
black
train.
quarterback, but everybody else
I
can get
feel
paid.
Whoa.
I feel
We didn't
I
say
feel
no. We're not saying that it has to change for the. We're not looking at color right now. We're looking at can you ball?
He balling.
That's it.
He balling.
That's it.
G Money wanted to talk about wins. You know, there's
Oh,
only
wow.
one quarterback that has more wins in the NFL since Dak has been in the league, and his name's Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson.
Only one.
Yes, sir.
So you're gonna
Yes,
talk
sir.
about wins, but then you say, "Oh, you didn't win at the right time." In the
Because we
beginning, they
see
said
games.
he did.
When I
He
watch the
won,
game,
but
the
it was
wins,
everybody else. He didn't have statistics. When he gets to the statistics, it's not good enough for the win. Not that the defense was bad and the coaching was bad. It's Dak's fault. Come on now.
What I'm saying to you is this. What I'm saying to you is this. You can pay him what he wants. I don't have a problem with that. But again, he had one job on 14. He had one job, and that was to win that game.
What about the other 21 players on the field? They ain't have a job. They get paid more than Dak.
If the quarterback gets
17 of those 21 players got paid more than Dak for that game, but it was Dak's fault.
If the quarterback gets the majority of the praise when they win, he also gets the majority of the praises when they lose. And trust me, Reggie, I understand what you're saying. I told J3 the other day, if you put his stats up against anybody else, he's going to show favorably. I don't have a problem with that.
Stats don't mean nothing though. Stats are overrated.
Man,
It's not the Big Ben. It's not when Big Ben got 2 championships. Big Ben got 2 championships.
Oh,
he was giving
That's
one.
a low blow. That's a low blow.
Dak can't even get in the same room as Big Ben. But
wow.
all I'm saying is this.
The same room?
Big Ben is clutch.
All I'm saying, no, Big Ben was clutch. All I'm saying is this.
What?
Dak
Wow.
Prescott.
We got too much deference going on.
Dak Prescott cannot make more than Russell Wilson. I don't care who's resetting the market or what have you. He is not the same quarterback as Russell Wilson. And it doesn't make a difference how many stats you get. It's when you get those stats. It doesn't make a difference.
Let's look at the numbers. They've already made him the exclusive franchise tag. That guarantees him $31.4 million this year.
And that's overpaid.
All he has to do is sign it. Next year, they either have to make him a free agent or sign him to a long-term deal. But what most likely will happen is they'll sign him to another franchise tag. That's a 20% bump. That means next year, he's going to make 37.6. Guess what that averages out to? $39 million. Divide that by 2. What's that? $34.5 million per year. Your floor starts at 34.5 because you've already set my market at Dallas by signing me to the exclusive franchise tag. So you got to pay me at least that, or don't pay me.
It's like Kirk.
And I think Jerry likes Dak.
Ain't no way.
Jerry likes Dak Prescott.
He does.
But again, Jerry liked Dak. Dak made it easier to forget about Tony and to move on. I think he actually likes him. He just don't want to pay him everything and the kitchen sink. What Dak needs to do is ball out this year. And if Jerry Jones doesn't appreciate it, just like Kirk Cousins realized, Minnesota does appreciate it. They appreciate it a lot. So keep doing what you do, Dak. You may not get what you necessarily need or desire or deserve from Jerry, but you keep balling because there's 31 other teams out there looking for a solid 6'5" cannon arm quarterback. So if he goes out, he performs, he's clutch. He has a defense. I was trying to show him some love. I could get
real quick.
We appreciate that.
Hey, real quick. Since said,
and if he plays well this upcoming season, you're gonna get paid. But the thing is, when you jump out there and you start demanding 40, 45 mil, you better be unbelievable. Unbelievable. He put a big
and you can't lose against 0-4 teams. You cannot lose against. But again,
he didn't lose by himself, did he?
It don't matter. He learned Jerry Jones learned his lesson against
the rules now.
Jerry Jones learned his lesson with Tony Romo, and he sat back and he watched Daniel Snyder give Kirk Cousins all that money. You cannot continue to go at that rate. You can't.
But why?
Without a
you gonna pay everybody else on Dallas though that you say is a core player, but not play Dak? How you gonna pay everybody else? You just gave a wide receiver that's been on your team for 1 year, $20 million a year, and hasn't proved anything. Who asked out on the last game? Who wasn't on the field the last play of the game?
I saw that too.
Who they give 20 mil?
And I had a problem with that to Cooper. I have a problem.
Yeah, what
with
about
that too.
Cooper and
Cooper
Zeke?
was balling.
All that money.
He didn't that last game. He sat on the sideline because he had a migraine or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he
So you
pulled
gonna
a
pay
Scottie
Cooper?
Pippen on that one
You
too.
gonna pay Zeke? Everybody on the offensive line is one of the top 5 players in that league, and when they got their contracts, they were the number 1. You paid your middle linebacker. You paid your defensive end.
But you just said it, Reg. You
Yeah, so
just
don't
said.
tell me you like me. Don't
But you
tell me you
just-
like me and you paying everybody else.
Yeah,
Where's
but
the rest
okay,
of the money?
but you
Where's
can't.
the rest of the
But
money?
but Dak's not a top 5 player at his position in the league. I don't
He's
care
not.
what the stats say. He's
I
not.
give him
Well,
top 10.
they don't need to be Nostradamus
top
to
10.
know that this
But
was
I give him
coming.
top 10.
This is the
Top
one of the
10.
bigger issues.
I give
Yeah,
him
this
top
is one
10.
of the bigger issues. Is because Zeke is doing
Okay,
so well.
name 10 other
Cooper,
quarterbacks
the
better
tight
than
end, they
Brock
had a
Purdy.
decent flow going on that made them.
Who
It makes
can?
them feel like they don't quite.
Why are we
know
talking
what
so
they
much
have
about
in
the
quarterback.
Cowboys?
The numbers
Because
are great.
there's nothing
I'm getting
about Rooney
nauseous.
Rule that needs to be talked about right now.
Last
Now
point.
we got plenty of other great sports topics.
Let's
Last
talk
point.
about
I
the
can't
slack.
handle it.
I'll be here to talk about the slack.
Last point on Dak's contract. Everybody talking about they made this big boo-hoo about Dak turned down 5 years, 100 and what was the number? $175 million contract.
That's it. Mm-hmm.
Nobody said anything about what the Dallas guarantee were. You never heard that.
Yeah, it's
You also heard, Dak wanted
They
40,
closed that up.
45 million for the last year. All that's been rebuffed and said that's not true. But you still haven't heard what Dallas has guaranteed Dak. If I can give you a 5-year, $175 million contract, if I'm only guaranteeing you $60 million,
right 60.
what you gonna get? If you sign 2 franchise tags, you're gonna make more than that. Why would I sign that deal?
Which is the reason why if I was that, I would go ahead and sign the franchise tag because I know next year either they're gonna trade me or they're gonna keep me and pay me more money.
Hey,
Oh,
go
we got-
somewhere else. If they're not showing you the love you feel as though you deserve, Dak, go somewhere else.
I hope
the
we got a
wave.
good
If they
manager.
want to pay you a franchise tag, if they want to slip you 31, an upset 31 million, take it until you can go out there and find your own deal. I wish my supervisor was upset with me and still gave me 31 mil. I could deal with you being upset with that. I could deal with that.
And
Yeah.
again, I hate to go there with the black and white, but it is what it is. I'm sorry, I don't make these kind of rules. They pay who they want to pay, and they don't pay who they don't want to pay. And unfortunately, like somebody said, he got caught up doing a COVID year trying to negotiate a contract, coming off a year that he lost to the Jets. I'm sorry.
You keep saying he lost to the Jets. It wasn't just him that lost.
Okay.
He lost to the Jets.
We got fans saying this is enough about Cowboy land. They getting sick to their stomach, so we gonna move this on.
Who are those people? I want to know who those people are.
Wise counsel, that's who it is.
The wise counsel.
So as we get out here,
They can't
a
be.
couple of things that caught our eye real quick that we want to make sure that we put out there for you. We want to say congratulations to Dr. Candace Lee on becoming the first full-time athletic director at Vanderbilt University. She is the first African-American female to be AD in SEC history. Only the 5th female ever to be athletic director in the Power 5, and the 2nd African-American female, following in the footsteps of Virginia's Carla Williams, who was officially hired in 2017. So hats off to Dr. Candace Lee. Graduated from Vanderbilt, got her master's at Vanderbilt, got her doctorate there, and moved up through the program. So that's big things, and we always want to highlight big things that are done. The other thing, for y'all golf fans out there or just people starved for sports, the match 2 was played on Sunday. So you got a little golf. You got Tiger, Phil, Brady, and Manning. I tried all I can say is I tried. I gave it about 5 holes. I had to turn it off. It was just too boring for me. That's just me.
I
And I'm a
actually
golf
enjoyed it,
fan.
Big Reg. I actually enjoyed it.
Did you see the shot that Brady hit though?
I saw it
Yeah,
on
I
replay,
saw
bro.
Yeah,
in
I
live
saw it.
live TV. That was nice.
Did
Yeah,
you
it
see the
was.
shots he was hitting
That
before
Charles
that, though?
Barkley was talking all that trash.
It reminded me of how my ball goes straight and about 25 yards to the right.
Right. But Big Reg, give them love. They raised $20 million for COVID-19 and all those efforts. So big love for that.
Absolutely.
But the question is, what are they actually going to do with that $20 million? Yeah, you raised that amount of money.
Hopefully for testing.
Thank you, J3.
Show me
Thanks,
some
J3.
legend. How they going to break down that $20 million, and who is actually going to benefit from it? Because there's a
What
lot
you
of people
clapping
giving.
for? It's going to a good cause. They're going to
It's
use
supposed to be going to COVID-19 relief.
But do they ever tell us when we give charity money where it all goes? But I mean,
That's my point. That's my point. Tell me what you're doing with it. I mean,
but
you
you
raised
give
it, so
anyway, Joe. It's about what you give.
I understand that, bro. But just show me some papers. Let me see what you spending it on.
They ain't gonna do
All
that.
I'm
He sound
All I'm
like the
asking.
Major League Baseball union. Show me some papers.
Books.
It ain't gonna happen.
Y'all
All
are killing me.
right.
Y'all are killing me. And I want to also say, get well soon to Coach Patrick Ewing.
That's
He was
right.
in the hospital over
He's
the
out.
weekend, recently
Boy, yeah.
released back home. Hall of Famer Patrick Ewing was actually fighting COVID-19, and I'm glad that he's on the recovery track.
Yes.
Anybody else get anything to caught their eye this week before we get our final post?
Yeah, I just want to say, we talked about The Last Dance last week, and there's been a lot of players that are coming out talking about that actual episode. Again, this was something that took place 20 years ago, and it was Michael Jordan's version of it. Whether you like it or you don't have to comment about it. Everybody done already talked about it. Leave it alone. If you a hater, you a hater. Stop being a hater. Just appreciate what you saw. If you got dunked on, you got dunked on. If you didn't get the shine you wanted, you didn't get the shine you wanted. Just leave it alone. Oh my goodness.
I hear you, J3. Anybody else got anything to caught their eye this past week?
I tell you what, it's interesting to see NASCAR with no fans in the stand, and I'm just thinking that there was a few years ago that I actually wanted to go to see a live race, and after the Kaepernick thing and Jerry Jones and everybody better stand, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it, and I like NASCAR. I like it. I can't.
I'm with you. All right, fellas, let's get our final post so we can get up out of here. J3, what you got for me?
I just want everybody to realize that even though COVID-19 has not been officially over with, just please be safe and think about what you're doing. Just because they flip the switch and say you can go outside doesn't mean it's still safe. Just think twice about it. That's all I got to say.
Big Ed, what you got for us?
If you guys can hear me, we talked about a lot of social issues on this show, but at the heart, it's really sports, and we're all about being fair. And so I just want to let everybody know that it's all about fairness and equality and just giving people opportunities that they may not have.
Appreciate that. Professor, what you got for us?
I just need everybody to remember that this might be entertainment, but we're really spreading love. We're trying to spread some joy, and please continue to pray for one another. We need to band together and do the right thing so that we can move together as a society with as less sickness and death as possible. Just do the right thing. God bless you.
Amen.
J Minnie, final post.
If y'all really want to talk about this whole HBCU football and them going back to school, let me know, because we can have a whole discussion on it.
Sounds like we got a future appointment
Might have
right
to check you up on that.
We got a future appointment. G Money, what you got for us in the final post?
Real quick, as far as COVID is concerned, again, how can I say this without ruffling feathers? We can't live in fear of our life. You can't do it. You just can't do it. So is we get up every day to go to work. We take a chance, but that's the chance that, by us being prayed up, that we like to think that he's going to cover us. You can't just stop everything just because we in fear. We can't be in fear for the rest of our lives. It's not going to happen. This thing is not going anywhere, so we can't live in fear. Let's get out and do it.
I hear you. I hear you. My final post is for all those folks that are going out there as these states reopen. I understand you feel like you've been cooped up for a long time. You're feeling a little stir crazy and you want to enjoy your summer. But please try to do that responsibly. Please don't go out to the water parks and be in the pool with thousands of people around you. Please don't go to clubs, packed wall to wall, standing on tables, acting a fool.
Sound
Be
like a party to
sensible.
me.
If we want to get out of this situation, and I agree, we can't live in fear, but we have to do it smartly and responsibly. And if we're not going to get it from some people, we need to make decisions that are best for ourselves to protect ourselves. And I just leave it there. I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. Oh, Johnny, I see you back. You got a final post for us, Johnny?
Oh, he threw me in at the last minute. Boy, I was.
Come on, man.
Come on. We can get up out of here. We running late.
Continue to be safe, be vigilant, stay inside, wash your hands, do what you need to do to survive.
Right on, right on.
Fantastic. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate your time and opportunity to share our positions on sports with you. Please tune in next week, Tuesday, 7 p.m. for our next live show. You can also download us via Facebook and our YouTube channel. We greatly appreciate if you not only like our YouTube channel, but please subscribe. That would be a big help and favor to us. And we appreciate all the people on Facebook liking our page. Thank you and big ups to you. If you can please share, if you like the show, please share it with your friends, family, and social media contacts. That would greatly benefit us. And also let us know what we can do better. If you think there's a suggestion that can help the show, we greatly appreciate it. Just shoot us a Facebook message or a YouTube message, and we'll definitely take that under consideration. Have a good evening. Have a great week. Thank you for listening this evening. I know it's ran a little long. We appreciate you. This has been the Positional Sports Talk Show on the Post YouTube channel. We appreciate it. Peace.
See ya.
Thank you, J Minnie and G Money.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate all you cats, man. Appreciate all you guys, man.
For sure.